What's up, everybody? This is the Sports League Podcast, back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got Amanda back on the show as always. And Amanda, we got some great football. We had a good game Thursday night, and then two, surprising games today.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weekend packed with football, and I am definitely enjoying it. I got a little bit of snow going out here in Colorado for Christmas right now, so it's a good
Hey,
Christmas. And I mean, the games today, they were definitely not according to plan for the most part.
yeah, even in week 16 and late in the season, the games are unpredictable. And we thought we had these two games figured out. Bengals at the Steelers, two teams streaking in the opposite direction. Um, and Jake Browning versus Mason Rudolph, a battle of backup quarterbacks. But like you had been calling him, he had been Jake Brady up until this point. But we got a little bit of, I like to call it Jake Grossman today.
Yeah, I mean, Mina, Mina said today, I'm gonna quote her directly. Um, But she said, Mina Kimes, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know who I mean by that, Mason Rudolph having the best game of his life right before Christmas is a little on the nose. I mean,
Mhm.
we should have known. I mean, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer over here, Santa showed up and he, took what he needed and got it done. But yeah, the Bengals were a hot mess in this game. And it was kind of tough to watch. And obviously, we expect those rookie backup quarterback, or not rookie, but like the quarterbacks who are brought in to fill in for somebody and just start playing for a new team. We expect to see why they're a backup at some point. But Browning has been playing really well. I mean, we've seen
Mhm.
a drop off with everyone, and I wasn't expecting a drastic one like that, like we saw today. That was a pretty rough loss for them.
Yeah, and yeah, that's true. Like these backup quarterbacks, at some point, we had to have a feeling that at some point Jake Browning isn't going to be playing as well as he has been on this three-game winning streak. And even last week against the Vikings, I felt like he was throwing the ball up at times, kind of just hoping it works out, right? Throwing it into coverage, kind of hoping that he doesn't get picked off or whatever. And you saw it very evident in this game with three interceptions and one where he throws it into the end zone and there's no receiver anywhere around, right?
No, that was a
Um,
bad throw.
yeah, so just some bad decision making. And, if you don't protect the football, you're asking to get beat. And what did Hugh Jackson say? He said, as long as the Bengals keep playing through the running game with Joe Mixon and Chase Brown and Travion Williams, then that's the recipe for success. The Steelers did a great job here of limiting the Bengals' run game. And with Jamar Chase out, it put a lot of pressure on Jake Browning, right?
Yeah, and I mean, when you're playing a quarterback who has, been playing well and people have been paying attention, they're starting to figure you out at this point, and they really limited some of his kind of go-to plays and go-to moves, especially with Jamar Chase out.
Yeah. And my concern was all the dysfunction that we had seen from the Steelers, the last couple weeks, and it was feeling like they were just quitting on the season, but obviously not. As one of the guys in the spotlight of that quitting was George Pickens, who
Mhm.
there was film of him not blocking on a run towards going into the end zone, and some effort plays in question with him. But George Pickens was unstoppable today. Four catches for 195 yards and two touchdowns, two huge touchdown plays, and then a great catch along the sideline, great footwork. I mean, that's where, with George Pickens, his great talent allows you to kind of put up with some of that other stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, 195 yards is insane, but if you saw how Mike Tomlin handled that situation, I mean, he failed to block last week, and there was a lot of scrapping back and forth. Warren was like, "Well, I would have blocked for you." I mean, his
Yeah,
excuse was like, "Oh, I didn't want to get injured." Okay, so you're willing to let your teammate get injured? But
yeah,
Tomlin, when questioned about it, he's like, "No, I'm going to keep using him. He's got talents. We want to utilize them. I mean, he's young. He's got room to grow professionally and personally." And they obviously had some heart to hearts and worked it out because he was all over the place. I mean, he put up a couple blocks in this game and I mean, almost 200 yards. So it
yeah.
was definitely a good turnaround game for him. And I think we get to see here how Tomlin has really, I mean, he's succeeded over the years because he is a good coach and he has these personal relationships with players. And I mean, we would see this situation just grow to a head in other teams and Pickens, requesting a trade kind of thing. But Tomlin, I mean, handled that immediately and we saw an immediate turnaround. And that's why he's been such a good coach for so long.
Yeah, and then veteran Hines Ward, former Steelers receiver, I believe had some comments for Pickens as well, and was kind of like asking him like, "We know you got the talent. How do you want to be perceived, right? Do you want to be perceived as a guy who's not gonna sacrifice for his teammates and not block and all that, or are you gonna perceive as a guy who's gonna go out there and give it your all for the team?" And maybe some of those comments from Mike Tomlin, like choosing to support Pickens and Hines Ward and even Antonio Brown on Twitter came to George Pickens' defense. Maybe choosing to support Pickens here got the best out of him. It seemed to work this week.
Yeah, and he's a young guy. I mean, he's only 22. We know he's got a lot of talent. I mean, sometimes they just need that kind of mentorship role taken by veterans and taken by older players on the team to kind of like help shake him out of it. I mean, he might have just been in a bad mood last week for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I think they did a great job, and he did a great job pulling himself out of it and listening to the positive aspects of the past week and kind of pulling himself out of that spot.
Yeah, and I mean he's one of my favorite players in the game just based on talent, right? Those catches, touchdowns, and catches along the sideline, those are just awe plays, like elite talent. So
Yeah. There were some
um,
stunning play of the week plays in that game for sure.
yeah, but for the Bengals, they see their 3 game winning streak snapped. They fall to 8-7. They get swept by the Steelers this year. And in my headline here is the Bengals got ran over by a reindeer.
hmm Yeah, I
So
mean, it was definitely an interesting clash with the 3 game winning streak against the 3 game losing streak. And I mean, one of these teams was more desperate than the other. So,
yeah, and I think neither of these teams are going to the playoffs. That's what we figured out by this game. Like the Bengals had an opportunity to get to 9-6, get on a 4 game winning streak, and keep the improbable run going with Jake Browning. And now everything kind of makes sense, doesn't it? The Bengals are likely going to miss the playoffs with the backup quarterback, with Joe Burrow out with injury. The Steelers are likely going to miss the playoffs. Kenny Pickett got hurt. Neither of these teams are playoff caliber teams, right?
yeah, I mean, and you referenced what Hugh Jackson said about how when it comes down to it and we're getting down to the wire, it's the players who are playing that quarterback position who haven't been replaced by backups. It's the teams who still have their starting quarterback in who are going to be the ones pulling out because there's only so much you can do with a band-aid of a backup quarterback in most of these situations.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you need a veteran quarterback or even Jake Browning in that moment to just step up and protect the football, and um this point in the season, pretty wins don't matter. How you win doesn't matter. It's just find a way. And this is a perfect segue into Bills Chargers, where this was an ugly game and it looked like a game that the Bills were going to choke away, and they found a way, right? And a lot of people are going to be down on Buffalo and say, you almost lost to a bad Chargers team who gave up 63 last week. I look at it like you're on a 3 game winning streak and you're still trending in the right direction and you could still win that division. An ugly win is better than a loss. It doesn't matter how you get it done, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you have to remember the Bills were in it until overtime against the Eagles. They beat the Chiefs, they beat the Cowboys. And then like this week, yeah, it was a weird game, but they were playing down a little bit to the Chargers. They had an off night. They probably were, pulling off the gas a little bit after they've been taking a lot of pressure the past couple of weeks. So you have to imagine that they were, coming into this a bit more relaxed than their past 3 matchups. I mean, and it bit them in the ass. 2 minutes into the second, they were down 10-0.
Mm-hmm.
And it was getting frustrating for those of us who picked the Bills and who, have been rooting for the Bills. But they found a way and they pulled it off. But it was a pretty scrappy game there and a lot of stupid penalties by that Bills team.
Yeah, and I mean they were up 21-13 but they allowed the Chargers to keep chipping back at it. 3 field goals, 21-16, 21-19. Then they fumble the ball and allow the Chargers to take a 22-21 fourth quarter lead. But luckily, Josh Allen comes through in the clutch. Tyler Bass, the kicker, comes through in the clutch. Who was that? Khalil Shakir with a big catch there.
Yep,
Um,
for 28 yards.
yeah,
Wh-
to get
Well,
him.
that was the touchdown that they called back. Sorry, that was my bad. The 28
Well,
yarder
that's
was the
still
touchdown that they nullified. Yeah.
a huge play, and to have them in position to find a way to win that game. I mean, an ugly win, but it doesn't matter, right? It means a lot more in the win column than it does how you got it done. And I'm still a believer in this Bills team. They've got the talent, and they might be able to catch Miami. We'll see how the season ends.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of Miami, there's an interesting game they've got to deal with this week too. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, a good win for the Bills. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but they won, so now they can kind of just focus on wrapping up the season and seeing how it goes. I mean, their last two games, it's I mean, the Patriots at this point are just trying to spoil other people's seasons. I mean, they're out of it. So they've got the Pats on New Year's Eve and then the Dolphins to wrap it up. So that game is going to have a lot of eyes on it.
Yeah, that's like a playoff game for them. It starts week 18 at the Dolphins, and if you can beat New England, which we all expect them to in Buffalo, you can get to a 4 game winning streak. And if you can carry that positive momentum into that game against Miami with an opportunity to sweep the Dolphins and take the division, that there's going to be so much on that game because it's going to determine home field in the playoffs, and um, I can't wait for that game. That's going to be all eyes on that. And for Miami, it's tough. 3 game stretch to close out the season. And worst case scenario, the Dolphins could be going into the playoffs on a losing streak versus Cowboys, at Ravens versus Bills. None of those games are easy.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about how Miami kind of skidded into this season with a pretty easy schedule. I
Hmm.
mean, they looking back now, like obviously the Broncos weren't an easy team this season, but when they matched up, they were not the Denver Broncos we're seeing right now in week, 14, 15, 16. They hadn't really figured it out yet. So I mean, they came flying in, putting up big numbers against some pretty mediocre teams. And I mean, I don't know what's worse, sliding into the season with a great record and an easy schedule and then getting beat up at the end of the season, or getting high off some really big wins at the beginning of the season, taking your foot off the gas and then kind of forgetting what it's like to play a real opponent until you get whiplash in the postseason.
Well, neither is good.
Yeah.
I don't want either. I want to be peaking at the right time. And you look at the Bills, they've had such a down year by their standards. But as long as you start playing your best football late and take a winning streak into the playoffs, who cares, right? Um, so it's going to be interesting. And the Bills are a team to keep an eye on. If they get into the playoffs on a hot streak, no one's going to want to play this team in the playoffs. So this year might be their best shot, maybe in the Josh Allen era, to go on a deep playoff run. It's the Bills and the Ravens are 2 teams that I'm really going to be keeping an eye on. They have a lot to prove in the playoffs.
I mean, teams you're keeping an eye on. I thought it was going to be, the first game of the week, Lions at the Vikings. I mean, I know you're super into that Lions team this year.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely keeping an eye on that one. Let's go ahead and get our picks started here. The Vikings have lost 3 of their last 4. Nick Mullins to start. The Lions 2-2 in their last 4, and a key stat here: in those 4 games, both wins are when Jared Goff had 0 turnovers. The 2
Hmm.
losses, Goff had 3+ turnovers. So the key to Lions at Vikings tomorrow is turnovers, right? And can Nick Mullins protect the football, which he didn't against Cincy? Can Jared Goff protect the football? I mean, they look like gangbusters against Denver. Like, if the Lions play like they did against Denver, they can win multiple playoff games. But they have to do it on Sunday. All eyes are on this game in Minnesota. Huge game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned what Detroit's been doing the past couple weeks. over the entire season, they're 8-1 in games with one turnover or less. So
Yeah.
protecting the ball is crucial. And I mean, this season, we've seen such good numbers from them offensively. I mean, this year they could be the first offense to ever produce 200-yard rushers and 200-yard receivers. I mean, Sam Laporta is 80 yards a game shy. So, I mean, he's getting close there. So if he does that, Jahmyr Gibbs needs just under 70 yards for the last two games. And then Montgomery needs 48 yards a game. And I mean, those numbers are doable for them with how they've been performing this season.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's insane. And this Vikings defense, I wish I could have more faith in them, but the few times I've picked them this season, they've really let me down. So, I mean, NFC North games, we've seen some mix-ups. I mean, last week, Detroit, yeah, we don't really need to talk about what happened there. But, it's an interesting game when it's the divisional matchups. So this could go either way, but I very much expect the Lions to pull this one off.
I mean, yeah, you let's look back at the two games against the Bears, right? They go
Mhm.
1-1, and they easily could have gone 0-2, and turnovers played a major role in that. Let's go back to Thanksgiving against your Packers. Turnovers played a major role in that, and the Packers won that. So you're right. Division games matter, and the Lions need to play their best football here. Uh, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I'm going to sound like a hater. Give me the Vikings at home. The Lions have to prove it to me, and they've done a good job of it so far this season. I've taken a lot of L's picking against the Lions, but this three-game stretch to end the season is crucial for both the Lions and the Vikings. And you've got a Vikings team with their backs up against the wall. They can't afford a loss here. So I'm interested to see how desperate the Vikings are. But a great game, and I'm picking the Vikings here.
Yeah, I knew you would, and we both knew I was going to pick Detroit here. But I mean, one thing we've seen the Vikings do all season is hang around in the game. I mean, they haven't
Yeah.
lost a game by more than a field goal since I think week 5. They haven't lost by more than one score. Haven't lost by more than 7 points this entire season. So while they, have a 500 record right now, if they win this game, they've got a 70% chance of making the postseason. And we have seen some of those Lions flaws. Like we've had them displayed on primetime games, so they can pick them apart, and they know that Lions team well. So I think the Vikings have a chance at an upset here. I think they're going to keep the game close. But I'm going to stick with my Detroit pick here.
All right. Sounds good. Can't wait for that game. How about Colts at Falcons? 8-6 Colts at the 6-8 Falcons. Indy comes in, hot. They've won 5 of their last 6. They got star running back Jonathan Taylor returns, but they won't have Michael Pittman and they won't have Zach Moss. Uh, Falcons are on a 2-game losing streak, and they bench Desmond Ritter for the second time this season. Taylor Henneke will start. This is an interesting game. Are you riding with the Colts here, or because we've been second guessing Atlanta all season long, and to be going benching their quarterback again shows a lot of like distrust in that position, right?
Yeah, and I've been kind of underestimating the Colts defense. They're actually tied for third overall with 46 sacks this season. We've seen them get
Mm-hmm.
after opposing quarterbacks, which was not the side of the ball I've been paying attention to for the Colts. I mean, we've been talking about the quarterback situation for them. And have you seen an official announcement about Jonathan Taylor?
Um, I think I had. Let me look that up. I'm pretty sure he's back,
Because I've
but
seen
I'll
he could
confirm.
return. They're optimistic he'll play. I haven't seen an official. Jonathan Taylor is in the lineup. Which I mean, maybe it's just because it's Christmas, but a lot of these injury updates are like, we're optimistic they'll play. I haven't seen a lot of like yes or no things this week. I think everyone's just kind of like in the holiday spirit and being kind of wishy-washy, which is annoying me. But I'm tempted to take the Colts here if he's in the game. But that Zach Moss loss is a tough one for them. And
I
one
see
thing,
set to return and not listed on the injury report, so
okay,
he should
perfect.
be good to go.
All right. So, I mean, I guess I'll lean towards the Colts. I feel like this one's going to be a close game. I mean, we've seen Heineke have some great games as a backup quarterback. We've seen him have some awful games. But I
Yeah.
mean, that Falcons team has got to be getting whiplash at this point.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm a Colts hater, and I
I
don't
know.
want to see this Colts team in the playoffs. I don't think they're a playoff caliber team. they're sneaky good, but 11-6 good, 10-7 good. I just don't think so. Give me the Falcons here at home, but I don't trust. I trust Taylor Henneke more than I trust Desmond Ritter. So I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope that Taylor Henneke plays a good game. That's pretty much what it boils down to. He's got Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. Hopefully, those guys play well. That's what I'm banking on. And the Colts are a little bit injury hit with no Zach Moss. Michael Pittman's their wide receiver one that could factor in. So
I mean, but look at their matchup against Pittsburgh. I mean, they won 30-13, and they put up a combined between these two ball carriers, a combined, I mean, how much was it? 157 yards between Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson. I don't know how many of our listeners knew those names before that matchup, but I mean, they're definitely running the next man up scheme pretty well.
they
So
are.
they
Yeah,
didn't really need Jonathan Taylor last week, and I mean that run game is pretty aggressive, and I don't know if the Falcons have a good enough defense to stop it.
they have a better defense than Pittsburgh, and I think that it snowballed on Pittsburgh. If you remember, both their starting safeties went down like
Mhm.
immediately in that game. KZ got kicked out of the game and then suspended, and Minka Fitzpatrick got knocked out. So, um, you know, and their linebackers are hurt. Atlanta's going to pose a better threat defensively than the Steelers. But you're right. The Colts have a great O line, and with Jonathan Taylor returning, they might be able to run the rock. Uh, but let's go Falcons. I got my Dirty Birds jersey on this week.
Yeah, I mean, so you think the Falcons are going to put up more than 7 points? I mean, they just lost to the Panthers. I don't know if I can pick a team that lost 7-9 against the Panthers. That's my issue.
I'm gonna put it all on Desmond Ritter.
All right, cute. We'll blame him for that. Speaking of cute, did you see what Taylor Heineke was saying about Gardner Minshew this week?
Uh-uh.
Because they have kind of similar storylines. I mean, team to team, come in, play well, when we're called up to be a starter. But he said, I feel like we would be pretty close as friends. I just think he looks like he has a lot of fun out there. He has a lot of passion for the game. And I think he's kind of a wild-spirited guy. I feel like I would gravitate towards that. So we've got like
Yeah.
a romance forming over here, which is kind of cute. So I
No,
expect to see some chatting during the game warm-ups and
yeah,
stuff.
they're similar style of play, and
Mhm.
it's gonna come down to turnovers like always, but it's going to be a good game. I got no reason to believe in it, but let's go Falcons. I'm tired of these Colts. Get them off of my
Yeah.
TV screen.
I mean, but speaking of turnovers, the Colts have 19 straight games with a takeaway. Longest active streak in the NFL. Their longest since 03-04.
Yeah,
So I mean,
yeah,
they're they're definitely pretty good at that. And I mean, Heineke isn't exactly known for having a ton of takeaways, but I mean, I could see a few. So we'll see how
yeah.
it
I
plays
think they
out. I
lead.
definitely agree with you. It's going to be who has the lesser number of turnovers.
Yeah, I think the Colts lead the league in takeaways, but
Mhm.
hopefully Henneke fixes that compared to Ritter. Um, Seahawks at Titans. Geno Smith is back. How are you feeling about this one?
I feel like most people are leaning Seattle here, but I feel like it's a trap game for them.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean,
Um,
Levis is having his injury issues. Um, Derrick Henry had 16 carries for 9 yards, worst performance ever as a starter. So obviously, he's having a down year. We've kind of seen that from him. He's only on pace for just over 1,000 yards this season. I could see this as his comeback game, and I could see Seattle getting kind of beat up there.
yeah, I'm gonna. So, are you gonna pick the Titans here?
No, I'm sticking with Seattle, but I feel like it's a trap game. I feel like I might have this one wrong. Seattle's pass defense has been playing really well, lots of pressure, lots of coverage. The Titans aren't passing the ball well, and they have like some quarterback injury challenges. So I'm leaning Seattle with this one, but we have seen some players come in games that we thought they would lose because of injuries and play a great game despite an injury. So I can see myself being wrong here.
Yeah, you got a 7 game lead on me. I'm already going against you with the Falcons and with the Vikings. I'm gonna go with you here with Seattle. I'm a Seahawks, a little bit of a fan of this team with Kenneth Walker and DK Metcalf and Geno Smith and even Drew Lock.
Mhm.
I like Pete Carroll in that defense. So I'm rooting for Seattle here. I can't find myself rooting for the Titans in this game. And
No.
the Seahawks are still in the mix to beat out the Rams for a playoff spot. So I would like to see that. So and they got to take care of business here. So give me Seattle on the road in Nashville.
Yeah, and we know that, Tennessee was eliminated last week. But Vrabel's still kind of playing a little bit for his pride and for a job and, to put up some good numbers for that team. So I'm wondering if at this point they're just, a wrecking ball trying to take other people out.
Yeah, they could easily take some pride in that and knocking Seattle out, but Seattle, show that you're mentally tough and find a way to win this game. It might be sloppy, it might be ugly, and it might come down to a Jason Myers field goal, but do what you got to do, Seattle.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we've seen their cornerback Rick Woolen have a couple of great games back to back. I mean, if they match him up with DeAndre Hopkins, I can
Hmm.
see that Titans offense just having a real hard time getting moving at all.
Yeah, absolutely. How about Commanders at Jets? We got a 5 game losing streak. Commanders and a Jets team that's lost 6 out of their last 7, with Trevor Simeon starting at quarterback for the Jets. Zach Wilson has a concussion.
I mean, are they both officially eliminated now? Because I know the Jets
Yeah,
are.
they're both officially eliminated, and who cares? This is
Yeah.
a poop bowl game.
I
Um,
mean, the Commanders are starting a quarterback who they benched last week. Like, speaking of getting whiplash from quarterbacks, this situation too. I mean, it's a hot mess. I don't even really want to make a pick here. Jets, I guess. I mean, both of these teams are self-imploded, like they're imploding on themselves. I mean, the Jets were just shut out in Miami, so I have honestly no idea how to pick this one. I mean, I,
yeah, I
I
agree with you. Give me the Jets at home, but who cares type of game.
yeah, it's gonna be awful. I'm sorry you guys gotta watch this one. Tune into one of the other ones. This one's gonna be, yeah, n- not worth your
Speak,
Christmas Eve time. Go bake some cookies or something if you're stuck watching this one, guys.
Speaking of tough to watch, the 6-8 Packers at the 2-12 Panthers. Carolina seeking a winning streak, their first winning streak of the season. The Packers come in on a 2 game losing streak with their defense allowing a perfect passer rating last week to Baker Mayfield. Does Bryce Young go make it back to back with another perfect passer rating?
Oh, there is no way in hell Bryce Young can play like Baker Mayfield. Let's not put them in the same conversation. But I would just like to point out there was a poll online, the Packer Company. Um, and basically, Packers fans were voting whether they would want to win out the rest of the season and make it to the playoffs or lose out and get Joe Barry fired. And everyone, it was a consensus. Everyone said, no, let's just fucking lose out and get that man fired. That is how disappointed we are in how our defensive coordinator is managing that defense. I mean, obviously the Panthers are out of it at this point. But Bryce Young is still trying to prove that, he's worth some money and he, still has the talent after his injuries and stuff. Um, and the Panthers do have a bit of an underrated defense. But
Mhm.
I do think Green Bay will win this one. Green Bay fans travel really well to Charlotte. They're stoked to be, on the road this weekend to somewhere where it's warm. But if the Packers lose this one, we are fully team scrap the season, get Joe Barry fired before the end of the year.
So you're gonna take Green Bay here?
Yeah, I cannot like be rooting against the Packers with a two-win team playing them. I just can't.
All right, well, let me put on my Grinch costume and just to troll Amanda, give me the
Oh my
Carolina
God.
Panthers in
There-
Charlotte to get on a winning streak here to end the season, get to 3-12 and beat your Packers.
I mean, someone pointed out that it would be hilarious if the Packers lost this just to spite Chicago. Like, no, at number one pick, no, 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 no. We're gonna help Carolina win, so your draft capital goes down on that traded pick. That would be entertaining.
Honestly,
Um,
that's like next level like trolling,
that would
we've
be some
seen
Mike
that type of
McCarthy
stuff.
shit. That would be
Yeah.
some Mike McCarthy shit. But I mean, at this point, technically, the Packers still have a shot at the postseason, so probably not this year. But if we were eliminated already, absolutely, that would be the goal. Just
Yeah.
lose. Fuck the Bears.
I mean, Green Bay's the more talented team. They should win this. I just wonder if their heart's still in it, if they care at this point, and Carolina, like you said, playing some sneaky, all right football. No one expected
Mhm.
them to beat Atlanta last week. If their defense plays well, keeps the game close, maybe they can find a way. So let's go
Well, and
Panthers.
yeah, and Carolina, they've committed to the run over the past three games, 155 yards on the ground per game. But Green Bay is ranked 30th against the run, which, I mean, Joe Barry, no surprise there. So we've been giving up 158 rushing yards per game over the past six games. Twice we've allowed more than 200. So I can see Carolina putting up 200 rushing yards easy. But hopefully our offense will be enough to counter how shitty our defense is going to play.
Yeah, I mean, if I lose this game, I'm gonna regret it in my picks. But it'll be fun just to troll Amanda. So
I mean, do it. I mean, Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are both playing, so,
yeah,
silver
that's it.
lining.
Yeah. Um, Browns at Texans. No CJ Stroud again. So this is Joe Flacco against Case Keenum. Both teams right there in the mix. The Texans trying to take first place in the AFC South, and the Browns needing every win they can get into the playoffs. And I'm officially on this Browns bandwagon. I'm a Joe Flacco fan. I liked him when he was in Baltimore, and I'm riding the Browns train in Houston. Give me Cleveland here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Titans defense isn't that great. The Browns allow, 261 yards per game, which is the fewest since the '09 Jets. And I just don't think that the Titans offense with Case Keenum is going to be enough to overcome that. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, I mean, Joe Flacco, 38 years old, he's had 939 passing yards in his first three games since he rejoined, shook the rust off, got off his mom's couch and suited back up. I mean, the Texans are ranked in the bottom 10 in pass defense. I think
Yeah,
Flacco is going to cut them up.
yeah. I mean I don't. I think this will be a hard fought. I think this is a hard game. I honestly do. I think it's a competitive game. I think it comes down to the wire. For whatever reason, the Texans are just so scrappy, and they shouldn't
Mhm.
be. Even with CJ Stroud out, it makes no sense. How is Case Keenum winning games in 2023? But I think the Browns find a way to win. Maybe it's a Dustin Hopkins game-winning field goal in Joe Flacco, I believe.
Yeah, and when I say cut them up, I mean put up some good stats. I don't mean like blow them out, but I can
And
see
he's
him
been
making
doing
some
that. He's
beautiful
been throwing for
passes.
300 plus yards.
Mhm. I can see him do it again here. And another thing to watch, I mean, we know the Browns have a great defense. I mean, their cornerback trio, Martin Emerson Jr., Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, we know they're insane. But
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of the ball, I mean, the Texans cornerback, Steven Nelson and Derek Stingley
Wink.
Jr.,
Yeah.
they're great together. So, I mean, I would, as far as cornerback like groupings are ranked, they've both got to be in the top three. So, I mean, I think the wide receivers are going to be scrapping there to get their hands free and make some of those catches. But we know Joe Flacco can thread the needle when he needs to.
Yeah, this is a sneaky good game. I think a lot of people should be paying attention to this game, but go Browns in the end. Hopefully they can find a way to get a win. How about your Tampa Bay Bucks at home against Jacksonville? Jags 3-game losing streak, Bucks 3-game winning streak. Baker Mayfield coming in red hot. Are you buying what Tampa Bay is selling?
So I don't think it's going to be, perfect passer rating against Green Bay's shitty defense this week. But I can't pick against Baker. This is the best we've ever seen him play. I know, Trevor Lawrence has had his issues with, injuries and concussions and stuff, and he's played through injuries this season, and we've seen him come back and play games that he shouldn't have been in. So the Jags, I mean, they're sitting at 8-6. They're pretty comfortable right now if they can keep winning. And both of these teams have so much on the line. Um, so I gotta get on the Bucks bandwagon or stay on the Bucks bandwagon just because I mean Baker Mayfield impressed me so much. Even against my team, I was still rooting for him. When I started seeing what his numbers were doing, I
Yeah.
can't pick against Baker here. But for the Jags, all three of their losses that they have, um, that came against AFC North teams, um, I mean, they don't have any AFC North teams left. So, if they did, they'd, have a rough season. But the division they're in right now, I don't know. It's going to be one of those situations where they've been running against this division and showing up really well. I mean, they're 6-1 against the NFC South and the AFC South. And I mean, the NFC South is kind of their cup of tea this season, and I can see that continuing this week and them being a real thorn in the side for the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm debating how far I'm gonna take this, but I'm not gonna make it a guarantee, but I am confident. I'm confident in this one. Give me the Jags to bounce back in Tampa Bay, snap this losing streak. I'm a Bucks fan. I'm a Baker Mayfield fan, but I just think Jacksonville is the more desperate team,
Mhm.
uh, and they're gonna get this road win, a much needed. You know, their backs against the wall. They can't afford a loss. Jacksonville is gonna play one of their best games of the season. Give me Jacksonville in Tampa Bay. And with this loss, I'm predicting the NFC South to be three-way tie again, all at 7-8 atop that division.
Yeah, I mean it's been a fun division to watch. And I could easily talk you into picking the Jags or the Bucks here with stats. I mean, heading into week 16, the Bucks have surrendered an average of 263 yards per game through the air, which is
Mhm.
31st in the NFL. And I mean, we know how Trevor Lawrence can ball out. So,
Yeah.
I mean, only the Commanders have been worse than them. And if you are in the same sentence or in the same group as the Commanders in any conversation, that's not a good look this season. And Trevor Lawrence has had a bad couple weeks, couple turnovers. So, this seems very much like a bounce back game for them. But whoever I pick, I end up rooting for because I like to be right, but I cannot root against Baker Mayfield after what he did in Green Bay. So
Yeah.
I could have easily picked the Jags if it was anyone but Baker, but yeah, I can't. I can't do it, guys.
No, I understand it, and I like Tampa Bay too. It's just this matchup, and I think the consensus average fan is going to be all over Tampa Bay in this game
Mm-mm.
for different reasons. You know, you are a big Baker Mayfield fan, you like him and are rooting for him. A lot of people are going to tell you that the Bucks are the better team here and Trevor Lawrence is overrated and he sucks and blah blah blah. This is a
That's
perfect
insane.
get right game for Jacksonville, and I feel strongly that Trevor Lawrence is going to ball out and the Jags are going to win this game.
Yeah,
So
anyone who talks like that really has not been paying attention to what the Jags have been battling through this season. They have
exactly,
overcome some crazy obstacles to still be in the mix. I mean, 8-6 with what they've had to deal with this season, and they're
yeah,
having a great year. And I can't see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a perfect passer rating game at Lambeau, the first one in history, and then losing. But it
yeah,
is a divisional game. It is very cozy. I mean, yeah, the Jags are on a three-game losing streak, but they've played three of the best defenses in the NFL, and that is not what they're facing against this week. So it's probably going to be a very different performance than we've seen from the Jags the past 3 weeks. So it's going to be a close game.
yeah. It's going to be fun either way. Another great game, a must watch. A game that isn't a must watch, a game that isn't a great game. The 3-11 Cardinals at the 5-9 Bears. How are you feeling about this one?
Oh man, I mean, the Cardinals are 2-3 since Murray returned. They scored 29 points on San Francisco last week. So I mean, they're definitely still trying to show that, Kyler Murray has it. Chicago has lo won their last three home games. Fields, he's playing really well right now.
Hmm.
Um, I did, I don't want to watch this game. I have no
Me
desire. I do
neither.
not care. Yeah, I don't. I mean, we're fighting over the top five draft picks here, guys. It's gonna be riveting stuff.
The only reason I'm still paying attention to these Bears is because I'm rooting for Justin Fields.
Yeah.
But I'm torn because I want Justin Fields to play as well as possible to stay on as the quarterback long term. And at the same time, I'm rooting for the Bears to lose so that they'll fire the coaching staff, the head coach,
Mhm.
the OC, get all these clowns out of Chicago. So I'm torn for sure. Um, I'm gonna pick the Bears to win this, but I'm not gonna be happy if it results in them keeping the coaching staff.
Yeah, I have the Bears written down to win this one. I do think that the Bears will allow their first 100-yard rusher this season. And James
Mhm.
Conner, I think he is gonna keep his streak going. Because I mean he's had such a good past 3 weeks. I mean, he's really hitting his stride. The Bears are allowing 79.8 yards per game. And he is right under that with his personal average. So I think he's
Okay.
going to be their first 100-yard rusher that defense has let it happen. And Chicago's defense has been really great against the run. I've been jealous of it as a Green Bay fan all season, which is weird because you're not supposed to say nice things about your divisional nemesis, but that is one thing that Chicago has done right this year.
Yeah, and some people are using that to justify bringing Eberflus back,
Oh,
but
hell no.
the only way, I mean, hey, if you demote him to defensive coordinator and then bring in a real head coach, okay, maybe, but not as head coach. And I'm tempted to pick the Cardinals here just out of spite for the coaching staff, but I got to root for Justin Fields and the Bears,
Is this
but
just
not a
a
game.
is this just a new NFC North thing where you want your team to lose out to get coaches fired, like Joe Barry, Eberflus? Is this just the thing that we do now?
That's where we're at this season. It's an
Yeah,
unfortunate
man.
spot to be. But that's what happens when you're 6-8 and 5-9.
God. Yeah.
Um,
Desperate
how
times,
about
man.
how about Cowboys Dolphins? You got to be excited for this one. One of the best matchups of the weekend.
I think I'm so confused by this matchup. I mean, they're both good, but whenever they face like a legitimate opponent, I have so many doubts and we see so many of their weaknesses. I mean,
Hmm.
the Cowboy side. So they've played 4 teams this year that currently have a winning record. Of those 4 matchups, they've gone 1-3.
Yeah,
Then look at the other side of the ball. I mean, the Dolphins have played 3 teams that are currently above 500. They're 0-3. And during those games, they've lost by an average of 16 points per game.
yeah.
So neither one of them can beat a winning team.
Well, one is capable, the other one might not be.
I mean, the last time the Dolphins beat a team that entered a game with a winning record was in October of
Yeah,
22.
yeah.
It's been over a year.
I feel boldly and strongly about this game. I could be wrong. It's dangerous anytime you're super confident in the Dallas Cowboys. But I'm going to go ahead and make this my guarantee of the weekend right here. Cowboys go into Miami and win this game.
So I, I I'm gonna roll with the Cowboys. I've been pretty good with my picks with them this season. Um, and we both have our doubts about Mike McDaniels and the focusing on the numbers and what the analytics say and stuff.
Hmm.
But I don't I would love Miami to show up and beat the pants off of the Cowboys because we have only seen them do that to shitty teams.
Yeah,
And
it's a prove it game.
yeah, it would be great if they could come and improve it. Do I think they can? No. That Cowboys secondary should be able to handle those Dolphins receivers. Tyreek Hill is playing. So that'll be a great test for that Dallas secondary that has been lauded as, a really good defense so far this season. So I think it's going to be a great test for both sides. Um, but I mean, we've got two of the highest scoring teams of the NFL this season, and between the two of them, there is one win against an over 500 team.
Yeah. And Dallas struggles on the road, right? They're so much better at home. It's like they're two both teams. There's tons of stats to say why neither team should win this game, and somebody's got to win it. Somebody's got to show up and play their best football. And so whoever wins it, it's going to be a huge statement on their behalf, right?
Hmm. And
But
it's weird because I think the Cowboys should be able to win this. However, I want it to be a high scoring shootout because I am really rooting for Tyreek Hill to hit that 2,000 receiving yards.
yeah,
Right now he'll need over 457 yards over these final 3 games. So that's an average of 152.3 yards per game, and he's beaten that number 5 times this season.
yeah.
So he just needs 2 great games and 1 good game, and he can do it because I would love to see him stay in that MVP conversation. And I think hitting 2,000 would really help his argument.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming off an injury, so we'll see how he does. And Dallas has a really good secondary with Stephon Gilmore and Deron
Mhm.
Bland. Um, the key to the game, I trust Dak more than I trust Tua in a big game,
Agreed.
and I trust the Cowboys pass rush to get after Tua. And to me, that's Tua's big weakness. If you get pressure on Tua, he becomes very average, in my opinion. So in Micah Parsons, I trust.
Yeah. I'm with you there. And I mean, I know we have speed on Miami, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
CeeDee Lamb has been playing insanely well.
Yep.
Right now, I mean, he's going after the franchise record. Michael Irving set the record in 95 with 111. Um, so he needs just a few more. And I think he can hit that record. So I'm just rooting for them to I want the Cowboys to win. I want CD to start making a good case towards breaking that record, and I want Tyreek Hill to put up some yards. That's my goal for this game.
All right, sounds good. It's gonna be a great game either way.
Yeah, I'm
Speaking
stoked
of
for this one.
Sunday night's not gonna be a good game, is it?
Yeah, just gonna bleep myself out real quick. So the Broncos and I have had a bit of a back and forth kind of fight all season. The games I
Uh-huh.
pick them in, they lose. The games I don't pick them in, they win. So I wrote the oh, here, we'll just use my the Mitch ass Broncos as my pick for this one because I'm just so sick of them winning games that I pick them to lose. So I'm gonna pick the Broncos and then they're gonna lose to the Patriots because serves them right. But I mean the Broncos have really tried to lean more on their run game, and that Patriots defense is number 2 in the league against the run,
hmm
which I mean, did anyone else know that? I had to look that up.
Um, Hugh Jackson mentioned it the first time he came on this season that the Patriots were top three, I believe, against the run, and I didn't know that either until he said it.
I think I kind of spaced out when he said that, or just like my brain just didn't register that that could be true or something. I mean, not that I doubt anything Q says, but I mean, the Pats are just trying to spoil it at this point. But I mean, they're so good against the run. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Um, but that offense on the Broncos needs to show up and be effective, and we've seen them do it this season. But one thing I really like in this matchup is these teams are both really good. They're both the Broncos are number 1 in the NFL for kickoff returns. So
hmm
I want to see some Devin Hester kickoff punt returning in this game. I mean, Marvin Mims right now, he has a 99-yard return for a touchdown this season. But then Jalen Reagor on the Pats kickoff team, I mean, he's been on fire. So I would love to see some big punt and kick returns here.
Yeah. Uh, you know, this is gonna be one of those games where you're, eating some food, eating some pie, whatever, just unwinding on Christmas Eve night. And this game might be boring enough to throw on a Christmas movie or something. Uh, the Broncos should take care of business. I'm gonna pick Denver to win, and there's no reason for this game to be competitive. Like blow them out, win this one 31 to
Mhm.
13 or something, or 31 to 6. Denver needs to be pissed off after that ass kicking that the Lions handed to them last week, and there's no reason for the Patriots to be even competitive here. So let's go Denver, and
Yeah, I mean,
they're wearing their all orange color rush jerseys. So
mm,
advantage Broncos.
yeah, and they've won 4 straight at home. So
Yeah.
if they give this up, I will lose all faith and go on a rant about the Broncos losing. But we're both picking them here, so good luck,
Yeah.
Denver. And I'm in Colorado right now, so I feel like the ghost of Christmas past won't let me pick against them.
Yeah.
So
And their backs against the wall. They need it. They're still in the
yeah, they
playoff
have
hunt. They need
to.
to win out. Yeah.
And sitting at 500 in week 16 is not ideal.
Yeah. Go on a 3-game winning streak. Take some positive momentum into the playoffs.
Yep, exactly. So speaking of that division, I mean, right now the Chiefs are 9-5. They're at home versus the 6-8 Raiders. Christmas Day, the first game, the Chiefs we've seen come in, they've won the last 6 meeting against the Raiders. Do you think the Raiders, I mean, they've been kind of trying to pull together. Do you think they come in and try to wreck it for the Chiefs, who we've kind of seen falling apart this season?
I sure hope so. There's no team in the NFL that I dislike more than the Kansas City Chiefs right now. They're not playing their best football. They're 3-4 in their last 7 games. I would love for the Raiders to give the Chiefs a lump of coal for Christmas.
I mean, I'm
Um,
sure those Broncos we just talked about would love that too.
yeah, but it's pretty hard to pick. I mean, are you willing to pick the Raiders here?
You know, I trust Andy Reid to find a way to pull this off, even if the Raiders are super scrappy.
Yeah.
Um, but I do see Antonio Pierce really using this as a continuing campaign to become full-time coach. So if they win this game after, the Chiefs have won the last 6 meetups with these two teams, I mean, what else are you going to argue? Like, what is your reason you wouldn't keep him on as a head coach?
Hmm.
I'm sure I don't really pay attention to the numbers and stuff on these or what the spread is. I'm sure Kansas City is highly, highly favored here. But if Aiden O'Connell can avoid turning the ball over, and I mean, we've seen how rough the Chiefs have had it their past, 2 months of football. I think this game could be closer than a lot of people expect, but I do think the Chiefs will pull off a win here.
Yeah, I mean, it's Christmas Day. I know the Chiefs have been underperforming of late, but I think this is a game that they can look past too, right? Like a lot of distractions. It's Christmas. They'd rather be with their family. They got, family in town. They want to go eat. They could be distracted here, and this could be a perfect recipe for the Raiders to come up and surprise them. Um, but this is one of those games where it's like I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win, and I'll be excited if the Raiders pull off the upset. Like I'll take the L, right?
Yeah, I mean, their last matchup was Thanksgiving week, and they beat them by 2 scores. They beat them by 14. The Chiefs beat the Raiders. But I mean, since then, they have lost to the Packers, lost to the Bills, and only beat the Patriots by 10.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of faith left in these Chiefs,
Yep. Me neither. But
but more faith than I have in Oakland.
yeah, Vegas. They
Oh,
they
Oakland, yeah, Jesus. I keep doing that. I mean, that's for some reason other teams I can get on board with, like San Diego Chargers, LA Chargers, like that's fine. That would make sense. But for some reason, Vegas just the Raiders are Oakland, man. I catch
yeah.
myself doing that at least once a month. So my apologies. Thank you for correcting me. But man, the Raiders were Oakland. The Oakland is the Raiders. It's just weird to have them somewhere else. And I'm sure the city of Oakland feels the same way.
Yeah, I felt like if they were gonna move, they should be the LA Raiders and put the Chargers in Vegas or put somebody else in Vegas. But
Yeah.
oh well. Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Chiefs here, but let's go
Okay.
Raiders.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we'll agree on the next game. The 5-9 Giants are totally going to beat the 10-4 Eagles at home, right?
Is that who you're picking?
No, no,
Hey,
I
I
am
mean,
off. I am
Philly
off that
Philly's on
division
a 3-game
today.
losing streak.
I know, but Jalen Hurts had the flu, and they're dealing through some stuff, and there is no way Tommy DeVito. I mean, if Tommy DeVito wins this one, I will eat my words, and I will call his agent and try to get him on the show. I cannot. I mean, the
It
Giants.
should be a get right game for Philly.
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for Philly to sort it out. The Giants don't really have much of a running game other than Saquon, and I expect the Philly defense to show up and be able to control him. So, you know, on one of the ESPN like previews for this game, their storyline was it's Matty Pencils versus Tommy Cutlets. And that is just stuck in my head. I mean, Matt Patricia, second week as Eagles defensive play caller, taking over for Sean Desai. I mean, he's really working to turn that defense around because they were last on third down and 31st in passing touchdowns allowed. And we know Tommy DeVito can occasionally have a good game and throw some beautiful passes. I do not think the Eagles are going to let them slide with this one. I think the Eagles are sick of losing. Hurts is healthy, and I think they're ready to go and have a solid showing that they still deserve, to be in that conversation for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, this is gonna be me on Christmas Day. I'm gonna pick the home favorite, but I'm gonna be rooting for the road underdog every time, all 3 games. Like pick
The
the Chiefs,
Giants?
but
How can you
can't
root for the
stand the
Giants?
Chiefs.
I cannot.
Pick the Eagles, but let's go Tommy DeVito. I would love nothing more than for the Eagles to go on a 4-game losing streak. Can you imagine the panic? The
Oh
media
God.
would go crazy if the Eagles lose this game.
I mean, just the trauma and the NFC and oh yeah, that would be a
Yeah.
hot mess. I mean, the Giants defense has allowed the fourth most rushing yards, the third most rushing touchdowns per game to opponents. I mean, if DeAndre Swift doesn't run all over that Giants defense and Hurts
Yeah.
has another off game where he's got, a lingering migraine or something from the flu and it goes the other way, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this game out. I mean, if the Giants get an upset here, that'll just ruin Christmas, man. Let's not do that.
Yeah, that'll be crazy. So we're both taking Philly. Um, and then Super Bowl preview, Christmas night. Everyone I believe is going to be watching this game. Um, can't wait for this matchup. Ravens come in on a 4-game winning streak. Niners are on a 6-game winning streak. I mean, I truly believe that this is a potential Super Bowl matchup right here. Like, this is great. This is going to be great football, and it shouldn't be a blowout, right? It should be a very hard fought, close game.
I mean, you and I have been looking forward to this matchup for weeks, and we've
Yeah,
seen them, I mean, continue their conference dominance and, over the past, I mean, months or so. And both of these teams are red hot. I mean, we've got San Francisco, who you've called the greatest show on grass. We've got those Ravens who have been red hot. I mean, their defense is looking really good. Their offense is still super effective. I mean, I this is just the best Christmas night game that anyone could have asked for. Like, it's
yeah,
so good. I mean, McCaffrey is going to have a rough night against that Ravens defense. I mean, he's playing like Jerry Rice right now. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, and the Niners are so red hot. I mean, they've won 6 straight games by double digits.
yeah. They're ridiculous.
I mean, I'm so stoked about this. I haven't made a pick yet because I don't know. I really just want to watch this one and not have like a horse in the race, but I know I'll have to pick so that, you and I can sort out our picks here. But I think it's going to be insane.
It's going to be a great matchup, and I can't wait. And I love this Ravens team. It's a great test for the Ravens defense. You know, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, and those guys, Clowney, you know, up against the greatest show on grass, like I like to call them. And to me, the 49ers look unstoppable right now. The only team that can stop the 49ers is themselves. I honestly believe that. I think that like, give me the 49ers here at home. I think that as great as the Ravens are, the Niners are just better. They're the best team in football. And if you were to ask me right now who's going to win the Super Bowl, I would tell you it's the San Francisco 49ers. And I think you give the MVP to Brock Purdy. And I don't know how you stop that offense. And their defense is elite too. But how do you stop that offense with McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, and then Purdy tossing the ball and being accurate and on time? Kyle Shanahan calling the plays. Everybody's schemed wide ass open, you know?
Yeah, and with the loss of Keaton Mitchell this season,
Yeah.
they've had to, call up Gus Edwards and get Jackson
And
more
then
carries and stuff.
Mark
Yeah,
Andrews being out, that sucks.
mhm. I think the Ravens are taking a lot more hits, and the Niners are just, I mean, they're untouchable right now. They've not had to deal with a ton of injuries. They still kind of have their starting roster, and they've just been rolling. So I don't think I can pick against the Niners, but I really just want to enjoy this game, and I want it to be a great game.
Yeah, me too. I hope that I think the Niners are I have no doubts about the Niners really. But I'm also want the Ravens to do well and I want them to go on a deep playoff run. You know, I'd love to see Lamar Jackson in a conference championship game and see if he can make the plays and take the Ravens where he wants to go. Anytime they interview Lamar Jackson, he doesn't talk about winning MVP. He doesn't talk
Mm-mm.
about breaking any records. All he says is, I want that Super Bowl. I want that championship. And
And
so
he
I
wants
want
it
it
for
for
the
him too.
team. He wants it
Yeah.
for the team, which I love. He's so humble. And I
Yeah.
mean, when he first came to the league, I know people had a lot of issues with how he presented himself in interviews, and he was a little gruff and a little, not snippy is the word, but a little. kind of stern.
Unconventional. He didn't do it
Yeah.
the media's way. He had his mom as his agent. He didn't follow the rules, and they didn't like him for that.
Yeah, but I love that he has found a way to still be himself,
Yeah,
but present himself and make the media understand and make the media love him because he has stayed true to himself, but still continued to be this humble guy who cares more about the team than any of his personal success. And I love that for him. I would, this is our Super Bowl preview game
yeah,
and potentially, and it's going to be a great way to wrap up the Christmas week of football.
absolutely. And I love this time of year. Happy holidays to everyone. Enjoy your presents and food and pies and family and watch a lot of good football. And it just gets better and better from here on out. Week 16, week 17 after that, week 18, and then the playoffs. And the desperation grows every week. And we get to see the best performances from these top teams. So can't wait to see how the AFC East, everything, finishes out there. The NFC North, multiple divisions, the NFC South, a lot of great battles coming down to the wire. I love this time of year for the NFL.
Yeah, and everyone in the comments, come tell us what your 2023 NFL season Christmas wish list is. I mean, what is the one thing you want from, Santa this year? We want Joe Barry fired for the Packers. Alex wants Eberflus gone. Like, what do you
No,
want for your team?
I don't want Eberflus gone. You know what I want. I mean,
And
Eberflus is gone as part of it, but you know what I want ultimately there.
you can't have Jim Harbaugh in Chicago. Not allowed.
All right, I'll tell you this. We'll allow Jim Harbaugh and Michigan to win the Natty, win the championship, but at that cost, he's got to leave and come to Chicago.
What is this, the fucking Little Mermaid? You're gonna let me have the prince, but take my voice? Like, come
Hey,
on, what is
be
this?
be happy that I'm predicting Michigan to beat Bama. That alone right there, you should be excited about beating Bama.
I mean, yeah, I've already said like if we win the Natty, then I'll be okay with him going. But that just makes me so sad. But there's just so much controversy. I cannot see him sticking around Michigan.
Yeah,
Like there's something new every week, and I mean I'm sure some of it is just an inside job from other schools who just want to get him out of there to stop the dominance that's been happening. Um,
yeah,
but if we win, I'll relinquish my claim a little bit to you.
yeah.
But
And we
yeah.
got the college football playoffs coming up here shortly too, and that's going to be a
Mhm.
lot of fun as well. It's just the best time of year for football and sports.
Yeah, but everyone tell us what your Christmas list is. We wanna read through those comments and maybe we'll shout some of them out on the next podcast.
Yeah, we'll see if the Lions can win the NFC North for the first time ever, host a playoff game. That'd be pretty special too. Maybe we'll get Stafford versus Goff.
That would
So
be great too. I'm stoked for that.
yeah. So we'll appreciate everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Check out our Instagram page at the Sports League. Um, interact with us. Let us know what you think. Amanda bringing it as always. Amanda, great shout out with who was that offensive lineman you shouted out for the Steelers?
Uh,
But you shouted out someone's name, and I'm like, how the hell do you even know who that is?
I
So,
don't know. I'd have to dig back through my notes. I already closed them
but
out.
you're killing it. You bring it with the knowledge every week, and we're the best podcast in the business. So check us out and follow along. And soon we'll be on NBC or Fox or CBS or whatever it is. So
I
uh,
mean, that's the goal there.
absolutely appreciate the support and have a great week, guys. Happy holidays and peace out.